Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 6th, the month is February, and the year is 2026. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Single, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Let me spit some game real quick. We're going to do a lot of ball in this episode. I promise. We're not going to go off the rails. I don't think it's unknowable. Look at the, use the timestamps to your advantage. Let me waste your time for a couple minutes here, though, because I gotta give you some game real quick. Folks, I just made the best beef stew that I've ever made in my life. I conjured something up in the crock pot that I've never tasted before. I did not know that I was capable of reaching such heights of culinary excellence the way that I just did when the mother of my child and I just sat down for dinner moments ago. So how did I get here? Yes, haha, by the way, beef stew, insert your Isaiah Stewart jokes, wherever you see fit. So what did I do? 9 hours ago, flashback, 9 hours ago, I get out some chuck roast. I throw it in the crock pot raw. Normally what I would do is I would throw it in a pan first. I'd sear it. And then I would eventually throw it in with all of the other things that I'm about to list. But I go meat first. Into the crock pot. I season it while it's in there. Salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and then a tiny little bit of like a Kinder's steak seasoning that I like. But, season to taste, whatever you like to use. But, be reasonable about it. Gotta at least put... Anyways, so what goes in after that? Listen, we love onions in this household. Ooh, we love onions. We want onions to overpower everything. We want to taste onions more than if we're eating onions on a burger. We want to taste it. It might as well be a damn onion burger, okay? We love onions. So I went white and I went green on some real Spartan dog shit. You know what I mean? Tough stretch for them, Minnesota and Michigan. Yikes. Tough week to be Jeremy Fears. Kicking guys in the nuts. That's the Spartan way. Learned it from Draymond. Green onions, white onions, dice them up. Okay, just one of each, I think. Well, I guess not just one green onion, but I think I use maybe 6 stems. The white part and the green part. Throw all that shit in there, all of it, right? On the green onion specifically, and then just one white onion. Dice it up. Boom, 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 boom. Throw it in there. Little baby carrots. Dice them up. Boom, 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 boom. Throw them in there. A potato of your choice. Dice it up. I only used one. I could have used, honestly, I could have used 2 potatoes. 2 full potatoes. Maybe 1.5. But we only used one. Boom, throw it in there, peel it, wash it first, peel it, throw it in there, boom. And then, I also did this. Ooh, this was also important. Sorry. I said I'm going to waste a couple minutes here. 1 spoonful of tomato paste. And then what else did I do? I did, you're only supposed to do 1 cup of beef broth. Brother, I did 3/4 of the whole damn container. You know what I mean? I really went crazy with it. I just threw it in there. I might have ended up using the full thing. I don't remember a lot of it. But just, whatever your preference is. And that's it. Boom. On low heat for 8 hours or however long it takes for the meat to cook. It took me about 8 hours. Brother, that meat it fell apart. It was incredible. It was so good. You can also do this. I think it's cornstarch and cold water. 15 minutes before it's done. If you throw in a little bit of cornstarch and some cold water, it'll thicken it up a little bit. I didn't do that. The broth was so good. Oh my God, it was amazing. It's the best thing I've ever had in my life. You can do, if you need it to be quicker, by the way, low heat on the crock pot for 8 hours, or you can do max heat for just what is it you think, 3 or 4 hours? Yeah, I guess you probably just cut it in half. Yeah. And then also a pro tip out there. I learned this recently, so I just want to pass this along. Just let's cook responsibly here. We're not trying to build bombs in our kitchens, right? So if you're throwing all this in the crock pot before work or whatever it is that you're going, and you want it to cook all day, while it's cooking, do not lock the lid, because then it's a pressure cooker bomb. That's what they used at the Boston Marathon. And that guy has been on death row for 8 years at this point. Okay. So you don't want to end up like him. Don't lock it. If you're home all day, sometimes I lock it when it's in there all day, but that's because I just incessantly, check on it and mix things just because I like to see the progress and I like to see how it smells and stuff. So I can get away with locking it because I just like be around the house. So like I'm, you know what I mean? And I'm always depressurizing it like it's coming back from the damn ISS or something like that. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Generational beef stew recipe. Please make it thank me later. All right. NBA trade deadline. It happened. We are a couple hours removed. As of this taping, we're like 6 hours removed from the trade deadline closing in the NBA. I made a community post yesterday, on Wednesday. And I said, man, I feel like I'm on the dark web. I'm reading all these Shams tweets, and these are some weird trades, man. This is some dark web shit that's happening in the NBA. Weird trade deadline. Until it kind of wasn't. I mean, it was weird. There was like it is funny how this worked out. Let me just say that I'm not going to do a whole thing about Giannis. I refuse to touch it. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching Shams. I'm leaving it alone. Here's my only thing though. I'll say this and then we'll move on. Remember like 2 weeks ago when Brian Windhorst was like, oh, there's like 10 trades that are lined up right now, and they can't happen until the Giannis trade happens. The league is being held up by this Giannis trade. You know how Brian Windhorst speaks with a southern accent. So wait a minute. Well, we did have a flurry of action. Anthony Davis got moved. We'll move on to that in just a second. Some medium to big names got moved around. It was fun. It was fun. Again, it kind of went out with a whimper in the end. Cam Thomas. Whoa. At the buzzer. Whoa! We'll talk about that in today's episode too, folks. Rest assured. But the Giannis trade, strikingly did not happen. But all these trades, and by the way, all these trades ended. Maybe I'm. This is semantics, or maybe not semantics, but I'm just being nitpicky. Maybe it's not that serious. These trades were going to happen regardless. I am only presenting this to say, like, I just think it's an indictment on the fact that everybody with a brain knew that it wasn't going to happen this week. It's like everybody that wasn't in the national media was telling you that it was going to happen, and we just kind of got, and now we've been gaslit. I could say, like, we've been gaslit for the last, since Shams said, I'm ready to find a new home. That's what Giannis said, right? According to Shams. And then Giannis after that, look, I said I wasn't going to do a whole thing about this. Giannis puts out I'm not fucking leaving. All right, bro. Okay. Let's see. Where do we want to start today? I think it's going to be easiest probably if we use emails and we give the ball to you guys, the fans who were involved in some of these aforementioned like dark web trades that just unfolded in the last couple of days. I mentioned Anthony Davis. I said we'll cover that in just a second. Why don't we just do it now? And who better that we could hear from other than Bathroom Tom, a.k.a. Wizards fan Tom. Some of you may know him by his preferred nomenclature, Hot Tom, the outdoor cat of the Coping Hour. We didn't hear from him after the Trae Young trade. I was really bummed. We just never heard. We don't know what Tom thinks about the Trae Young trade. It's unknowable. But immediately after this Anthony Davis trade, Tom sent us an email, and I, as it goes with his emails, I trust him enough that I don't screen these before. I don't read these beforehand. So we're all going to learn what Tom thinks about this in real time. Tom, welcome back to the show, brother. Hey, Nick. In class right now, I just got word that the Wizards have traded for Dante Exum, as well as Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, and Jaden Hardy. Let's break it right there, Tom. You led with Dante Exum. Did you read this over and realize that? Was that intentional? It's unknowable. Let's get back to it. I just wanted to point out that you did lead with Dante Exum in what is otherwise, I thought at least, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're learning something. Wizards fans aren't viewing this as the Anthony Davis trade. We're reading between the lines here at the Coping Hour, ladies and gentlemen. Wizards fan Tom saying, leading this with, we traded for Dante Exum. Oh, and then also that Anthony Davis guy. Okay, all right. Hashtag noticing, as they say, right? Let's get back to it. We traded away what is essentially peanuts. This is a shocker and confusing in a lot of ways. For one, this was absolutely a win for the Wizards. Again, it's just funny to say, this is crazy in a lot of ways. And it's not just crazy that you got Anthony Davis. It's crazy that the Wizards did something good. Whoa, this is confusing. That's the word you use. Confusing, not crazy, confusing. And the first reason that this is confusing is because the Wizards did good business. Which they've done. This is the second time they've done it in a month, by the way. But I'm sure you'll cover that in this. So I'm sorry, Tom. Let's get back to it, and I'll try to just stick with it and not keep interrupting you. We traded away assets which we're not going to be able to that we were not going to be able to use long term in an AJ Johnson trade, who had fallen out of the rotation on a top 3 lottery odds team, which says a lot, which says both a lot and almost nothing at the same time. We get rid of Chris Middleton, who looked like a liability at times and like a steady veteran hand at others. We get rid of Marvin Bagley, who, as you famously said, can get you 20 and 10 if he doesn't stop moving his feet, but has not been anything more than a bench filler or bench flyer. Is that what we say? No, yep, bench filler for back end rotational work. We also gave up some picks, which are marginally significant, but which are not the Wizards' own picks, so we did not necessarily lose anything of value to the team itself. These are all depreciating assets or things which are unnecessary in the grand scheme of the team itself, which are absolutely fine to trade away. In return, we get Dante Exum, which again, Tom, here you go, leading the charge with Dante Exum. This guy's so fired up about, I was going to say the Australian. Is Dante Exum Australian or, because he played for the Breakers, didn't he? When he came to the NBA, I'm pretty sure Dante Exum was playing for the Breakers, which would mean that he's from New Zealand. I guess it doesn't mean that he's from New Zealand. Because didn't Australia play for didn't Josh Giddey play for, no, he played in Australia. If I'm going to plant my flag, where's Dante Exum from? Because if I'm wrong about this, the other country's going to get so mad. Man, whatever you think the United States and Canada has going on right now, this Australia, New Zealand shit transcends the fucking dinosaurs, man. These guys, I mean, weren't both of those underwater when the dinosaurs were around? Or was it? No, it was the opposite, actually. Wasn't New Zealand like this insane landmass? And then it went under is what it was, right? So I have that backwards. I'm going to say Dante Exum is from New Zealand. And Tom is just really excited that a New Zealander is on the team. Okay, cool. Tom must really love Lord of the Rings. So let's just start that again. In return, we get Dante Exum, the international man of mystery, extreme, or the awesome Aussie as he was. What? Fuck! Shit! Is he Australian? Tom, you say they called him the awesome Aussie. The awesome Aussie. If using that information, I would deduce that he may be Australian. Shit, I'm sorry. Good eye, I'm sorry. You guys already have a bad ozone as it is. Although we've covered this before. I think you guys have corrected me. Your ozone's good now. What's going on with your ozone in Australia? So if you guys are, Steve Irwin, I mean, come on, man. One of the worst things that Steve Irwin, Robin Williams, I mean, talk about just deaths that, just rattled you to your core. I'm sorry, Tom. Let's get back to this. He will contribute to the tank, that being Dante Exum, and that makes some amount of sense in a team actively aiming for that by the end of the season. We got D'Angelo Russell, which is, again, a great tanking move. I do worry about his ability to make the young guys regress with lack of touches or his inability to distribute the ball effectively, but ultimately makes sense. You say Jaden Hardy. Yeah. Sorry, Tom. I'm assuming that's how you meant to say. The way that it's typed out is So I hope I did the vocal. How do I say this? I hope my voice acting was accurate there. And finally, Anthony Davis. The tail end of this, and finally, the footnote of all of this business, is Anthony Davis. The Anthony Davis aspect of this is something which is so confusing. First things first, and I assume this is the NBA Twitter reaction. Parenthetically, you said, as I have received the news roughly 20 to 30 minutes ago and have not checked. Yeah, Tom, you sent this in basically immediately after it happened. Quote, enjoy the 15 games he and Trae Young are both healthy, unquote. Or, quote, did the Wizards just become more watchable? Whoa, like hashtag crazy style, unquote. And, quote, if it were 2016, we would be calling this team a dynasty, unquote. I ultimately think that the move is good, even if it forces us into a corner of relying on guys who aren't reliable by any means due to injuries and the amount of maneuvering which they have perpetuated in the past behind closed doors. Additionally, the injury question is something which really sours me to this upcoming team, especially because the idea of the buy-in coming in this form really is unsettling from a realistic perspective. Insert video of Anthony Davis playing 2K and watching himself get injured going up for a block while he was playing. The timing of you sending this in, Tom, is so perfect. Using that as like as a verbal meme. Because I just got a YouTube short of that. It was 2 days ago. I think I watched it 3 times because I had completely forgot that video exists. So the timing of you sending this is just very, very funny. Yes, that's perfect. This is the end of the email, folks. We got there. Tom, this has been a great email. This has gone really, really well, actually. So I say we finally got there. No, I kind of wish there was more. This has gone really well, Tom. I've gone hard against this team in recent years, and I'm not necessarily giving up my seat on that train to hop on any sort of hype train yet. Let me see how this draft lottery goes first. But ultimately, this trade makes me super cautious about believing in next year without injecting pure hopium into my veins and pretending that this team can win the East or even make it past round one. Sincerely, Tom. Tom, this may be our best email that we've done yet. Let's do a round of applause for me, Tom. This went really well. I don't know. Honestly, I have a little bit of pushback. I think you should be more optimistic, honestly. Because if you lead the whole thing with, I don't know, we didn't really give anything up at all, which you didn't. You turned, the thing that what we kept saying since the Trae Young trade happened was that the Wizards turned a paperclip into a Lamborghini, right? You know those YouTube shorts, that short form shit that people do where it's like, or there's even an episode of The Office where Dwight does this, I think, or is it Jim that does it? I don't know. Yeah, it's Dwight that does it. Where it's like, I'm gonna go to the flea market. I'm gonna start with a thumbtack, and then I'm gonna trade my way up to a NASA telescope or something like that, right? And it's the journey of how they get to that point. The Wizards just kind of skipped the fucking middle, and they just went from the paperclip to the Lamborghini. You know what I mean? They were just like, here are two guys who are going to be free agents in 6 months. Can we have Trae Young? And the Hawks were like, whatever, bro. And like the back and forth of this trade with the Wizards and the Hawks, with the Wizards and the Mavs. I mean, with guys that were actually in the deal, like there were a lot of names going back and forth. But you talk about the draft picks that you otherwise didn't even own. It's like you didn't give anything up. You lost nothing. The Wizards front office for the last month has been communicating like, look, the deconstruction, this is their word. This is like their, not verbatim, but this is basically what they're saying. Deconstruction is the word they keep using, that's over. That the core that the Wizards have right now, like those are their guys, right? And it's like, okay, well, if you didn't lose any of those guys, and in return, you got Anthony Davis and Trae Young, like you talk about the NBA Twitter jokes about like, oh, this team's going to be awesome for 15 games next season. Ha ha ha, like it's the easy joke to make. Unfortunately, it is probably true though, Tom, right? So that's where your trepidation like isn't, it's not crazy. It's not unfounded. It's not dumb. I think like to put your eggs in this basket, it is a really big ask. But then my response to that would be like, it's a big ask to like buy into that. You know what I mean? Like where you're just like, we just know how this is going to go. But this is what my pushback on that would be. We all, across however many sports it is that you watch, we all have rooted for teams at some point in our lives. Some of you still going through it right now. Like Tom, a month ago, you were fucking going through this. Where you're just like, we've sucked for 10 years. And wouldn't it be nice if we were the team who just like, I don't know, just went all in for no reason and just did something fun, and just this thing that you do in 2K when your team sucks forever and you just like go make a bananas trade happen and you do like isn't it fun when teams do that in real life? So many people have like compared like what the Wizards or what the Bulls have done at this deadline to like a Kenny Beecham video where you just kind of like make weird shit happen where like you abuse you understand how the trade logic works in 2K the way that Kenny does. And you know what I mean? And you just turn paper clips into Lamborghinis. They kind of just did that in real life. And unfortunately, it's not a video game and it is real life in the sense I was going to say, well, I mean, Anthony Davis does get hurt in video games. That is something that we already laid out. So I guess it kind of is. Who cares? You guys are going to sell a ton of tickets. And even in those 15 games next season, because if you get, how many games do you got to get for it to matter out of Anthony Davis? I mean, 45, but it's not going to happen. There's just no way it's going to happen. Can I give you also this, just another little zip? I don't have that much on this, but just a little zip, little piece of commentary here. While I'm saying all this nice stuff about Washington, where I'm like, you know what, who cares? Even if it doesn't go well, you have something fun that you otherwise didn't have a year ago. I say all that. I think this is going to be fun for Washington. I like where they're at right now. But also, has Rich Paul lost his step maybe a little bit? Because at no point in the fucking history of clutch sports ever where his client's getting sent to, with all due respect, Wizards fans, Siberia, Azkaban. What the fuck? Anthony Davis is in Washington? You know what I mean? So, like, all due respect, I mean everything, all the nice shit I'm saying, and how, like, Tom, I think you should be excited because I think this is really fun. I mean all of that from the bottom of my heart. But also, what the fuck? The market for him was that bad that Rich Paul was like, yeah. Now it sounds like what some of it, I guess, came down to was teams just refusing to do the extension that he was going to want down the line, and how, like, you know, however long ago it was that Anthony Davis called Shams a fucking liar on Twitter. Was that like, yeah, it was like maybe a month ago, because Shams was like, Anthony Davis is out for the year, and then him and Rich Paul were trying to orchestrate a trade behind the scenes. So Anthony Davis was like, you're fucking blowing up my spot. Shut up. And he called him a liar. And then clearly phone calls were made behind the scenes. And then Shams corrected his tweet. And he was like, yeah, he'll be all reevaluated in 6 weeks, right? Because then it doesn't completely destroy his value. But then while also at the same time that was happening behind the scenes when they're negotiating this deal, Rich Paul is like, whoever's going after him, well, and publicly, I think he did say this, whoever goes after him, you are also signing him to an extension. I guess that the teams must have just been turned off to that. And then the Wizards were just like, they were the, you know, I don't know how this meme would work, but it's like the three dragons where like two of them are really scary. And then there's the other one who's like cross-eyed and his fucking tongue is sticking out. Anthony Davis got eaten by that dragon, and it's the Wizards. Again, I like where they're at, Tom. I like what you guys just did. Because what else were you doing? And all your guys that you like are still there. The Pistons are playing the Wizards in the mid. I came to tape the show at halftime. The Pistons were down by like 100 points, and then I blinked and they weren't. It rocked. Kevin Huerter did check in this game. We'll talk about Kevin Huerter in just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. No, I don't know. The Wizards are fun. I think you should be excited about this, Tom. I'm not telling you to get in on the hype train because it's not going to be worth it. I think you're going to get hurt. Again, we all know how this is going to go. But in the meantime, Trey is going to restructure his deal. We'll see what happens with Anthony Davis. That's a tough guy to pay as much money as he's going to make to play, 37 games next year. But when in 15 of those 37 games that he plays, he's one of the 10 best players on the planet, it's going to be awesome. Wasn't it literally the first game that he played for Dallas, post-Luka trade? And I don't remember what the stat line was and how many minutes he did it in, but the guy was like, he had like a Wilt stat line in like 10 minutes. He had like 15 points and 17 rebounds and 16 assists and like 9 blocks. It was like crazy shit that he was doing. And it was that we hadn't even gotten to the first TV timeout of the game. And then didn't he get hurt immediately? Like as soon as Mavs fans, not that they were able to just like put it behind them, but like for a brief moment they not forgot, but you know what I mean? Their minds were somewhere else and not just on how fucking miserable they were. Because the guy that they traded him for was Wilt Chamberlain for like 5 minutes. And then he got hurt. As quickly as the air came back into the building, it was sucked out again. It was vacuumed out again immediately. And then 1 year later, 370 days after the Luka Doncic trade, Anthony Davis is and this is where Rich Paul sent his client, by the way. He's a Washington Wizard. Huh. Lots of stuff can be true here, Tom. Lots of stuff can be true here. What else? What other dark web stuff did we see at the trade deadline? Well, folks, you would think if you were participating in any of the channels that Pistons fans congregate on social media, you would think that they just traded fucking Tracy McGrady, prime T-Mac, 13 and 35, Tracy McGrady. That's what they sound like, folks, because Jaden Ivey's gone. Jaden Ivey was traded to the Bulls. Pistons got Kevin Huerter. Interesting. That's very interesting. Look, the Ivey thing, I just kind of think we've all... I don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's like... I don't want to call people bandwagons because there hasn't been anything to bandwagon yet. But I do think that there are fans of other Detroit sports teams that for so many years kind of weren't paying attention to the Pistons because they weren't good, and there was, I don't know, the Pistons when they're down, they're really down in the city. I just really think that's not true. That's not true at all. Detroit sports is just people always support the teams, but I don't know how to say this. It happened with the Lions too. I mean, just the people who weren't watching until a year ago when they were playing the Knicks, and now they're just babies. They're just babies. They're just annoying babies, and also it's just the way that it goes. And if you're on NBA Twitter, Pistons Twitter or Pistons Reddit or where, Discord, wherever it is that you're, like, people are just babies on forums and message boards. Like, that's just the internet. That's how it goes. And fans are dumb. But I'm not saying that to, like, attack people who are really bummed that Ivey's gone. I just mean, like, people are just going, people are knee jerking themselves off of a cliff because, like, and this is also where I was going with it. Like, it's those people who didn't realize that the writing had, like, just been on the wall for a while, like a long time. And I don't mean in the last, like, month when the Pistons had a behind-the-scenes meeting with Jaden Ivey where they're like, hey, man, you're not going to get your minutes back. It's not going to happen. And so at some point, between now and the beginning of February, you're going to be somewhere else. I'm not even talking since then. We've known for like a year. They're not going to pay this guy. They were never, ever, ever going to pay Jaden Ivey. The only way that he would have been here for longer than, until he got traded 2 days ago, I guess it could have happened this summer, but, a year from now, I guess you could say, is if he would agree to an extension that paid him like less than $10 million. Because otherwise, that Duren contract, that extension, the Cade extension, you're going to have to do the Asar. Well, they didn't even do the Jalen Duren one yet. You're going to have to do the Asar extension. Stu's on a good contract right now, but eventually, you know what I mean? And at some point, there's going to be an odd man out, and it's just been Jaden Ivey. And then not only that, but when you factor in how damn good Jenkins has been this season, having him and Ivey, once Jaden did finally come back from his injury, like, it was redundant to have Ivey and Jenkins not even just on the floor, but like just on the same team. Like, you don't need both of them. Jenkins is more cost controlled right now, although we are kind of in an interesting part with I don't want to do the whole contract thing that just came out with him, but it is interesting what's going on there. He's just been so good, and he came out of nowhere. 6 months ago, we didn't really know who Danius Jenkins was. Like, you know what I mean? But he's just been so special, and it's just kind of how it goes in the NBA. Jaden Ivey just did that. That really sucks that Cole Anthony is a little pussy who broke Jaden Ivey's leg. That sucks. It sucks for him that he was playing the best basketball of his career, and he was shooting the ball really, really well, and he was robbed of the rest of the season and participating in that first playoff run for the Pistons. And then it was just kind of because of that, and how, I don't want to say how long it took him to come back. It's not his fault. But Jenkins was better. He was better. He was more consistent. And more importantly, the Pistons had built continuity with him in the offense while Jaden Ivey had to recover, while he was rehabbing. It's just basketball. That's just the way that it goes. And so I really think that if you're a Bulls fan, like, look, I've never ever been shy that, I don't know. I don't want this to come across like I'm just like going to say mean shit about him. Now that he's gone, like, oh man, like, oh, look how someone switches up when they're not. Look, for those of you who listen to this show and also listen to the Bunny Cardigan show, it was like the night that we drafted Ivey that I was fucking furious. I was furious because I wanted Keegan Murray, but we couldn't get him because he went one pick earlier and he went to Sacramento. I didn't want him. I was not interested in the Ivey experience. I never was. I think I just like I was doing the thing where I was playing the game of being like, oh yeah, this will be good. Cause I knew that I knew who listened to the show, and I didn't want, even though I was supposed to be like the quote unquote unfiltered fan, there were times that I was conscious of like people on the team that were listening to the show. And I just felt weird about being like, these guys are fucking retards. Like, I just felt weird about that sometimes. So I may have framed it as like, I was really excited about it, but the whole, like, when you're a bad team and you're just so excited to have an athlete on your team, like a real athlete, and Jaden Ivey is an athlete 1,000,000%. It's fun, like, when you just have been starved of that guy for so long. Like, that's why that one season with Blake was so special, because he was just an athlete, and we just hadn't had that. You know what I mean? Like, Andre Drummond was not an athlete. He never was. Greg Monroe, like, was not an athlete. You know what I mean? Charlie V, Josh Smith, like, these guys were not athletes. We just hadn't had it in so long. It's like, that was what the appeal of Ivey was, and that was kind of it. His first year in the league, people were like, oh my God, he's John Morant. And then he shaved his head. And suddenly people didn't compare him to John Morant anymore. It's weird. You don't hear that about Ivey anymore. It's funny how that works. But I just think once the team started to get good, that bull in a china shop shit just doesn't work. And two things can be true. That he was shooting the best that he had ever shot in his life when he got hurt last year. And also, I don't think he ever had a plan when he was dribbling from within, 10 feet of the rim. I just think he would just go down there, and he's a guy who never gets as much. I think his whistle stinks. I think he's like too good at absorbing contact, but also he does too much like acrobatic shit where he almost avoids contact. But in doing that, he just gets bad angles at the rim. I think that's another part of it too. His numbers at the rim actually are really good. I think it was he's shooting like I don't remember if this is what it is. So Russell Westbrook is like 60% at the rim, and Ivey is like 50% at the rim, like maybe 52. I think Shea's like 40% at the rim. It's crazy. I think we just talked about this a couple episodes ago. I don't know, man. I just think like it was inevitable. This was the way that the business was always going to go. My immediate reaction to it was, really, we couldn't get Ayo Dosunmu? I was like, well, that's interesting. I thought maybe we could get him too. I don't have any problem with Kevin Huerter being on the team. I love that. I don't know what his numbers are like as a movement shooter, but it's the same people on Reddit earlier that I was talking about that have just like really rubbed me the wrong way. Who are like, oh, well, he's shooting 10% less from three as from Jaden Ivey. I just don't really blame Kevin Huerter for like having a kind of like down year from three when he was played primarily at small forward for the Bulls this season. And then also the fact that I just said he was playing for the Bulls. You know what I mean? I just think like anybody, unless you're Patrick Williams, I will put some context into like maybe why you're not playing that well. You know what I mean? I think Colin Sexton's going to play really well. I also, by the way, think Jaden Ivey is going to play really well. But Kevin Huerter being on the team that's perfect. I think it's interesting that, okay, so that's how the Ivy chip got spent, was on Kevin Huerter. All due respect to him. I'm excited that he's on the team. I'm really excited that he's on the team. But I just mean in the context of, what had we been saying for the last month and a half about Jaden Ivey and as he pertained to the trade market, right? Well, the ceiling of like what we were talking about was him being included in a trade for Michael Porter Jr. I think that was the collective value of like, that was the Pistons like main bargaining chip this deadline. You know what I mean? And so when it ends up being Kevin Huerter, to me, what that says is, okay, Brooklyn must have wanted like some like Mikal Bridges, Desmond Bane style trade. You know what I mean? If the Pistons otherwise pivoted and used that Ivy chip on a guy like Kevin Huerter instead, which is a guy who's a really good shooter, and a lot cheaper, I guess. It must have been Tobias and Ivy, and I mean maybe they wanted like Holland and 2 picks, or maybe it was like Ivy, Karras, and 4 picks. You know what I mean? Like it really must have been a steep price for Michael Porter Jr. You could say also the same thing, just, unrelated, but you could say the same thing about Trey Murphy. Like, okay, I guess the Pelicans weren't joking. They weren't joking about like, no, we're keeping these guys, unless you're Jose Alvarado, which I hope we talk about that. I'm really scared about that trade, and I'm very unhappy that happened the way that it did. Which actually, no, this actually fits in here. I can say the Jose Alvarado thing now. Okay, I'm not saying you would have traded Ivy for Alvarado, but just on the Pistons trade deadline in general. Okay, so that's the only thing that they did. And then they also got Dario Saric. So I keep saying, I'm framing this like it was a 1-for-1. They also got Dario Saric. I'm not convinced that he's not going to get waived. That seems that nobody's talking about him. The local guys are not talking about him. I'm assuming usually what that means is they're going to get waived. So, but maybe he won't. I don't know. Maybe he'll be a break glass in case of emergency in the playoffs like Paul Reed was last year. But I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be on the team. Who knows though, right? But I see that Jose Alvarado trade happen, and I was very unhappy. Was it like Dalen Terry and 2 seconds? The hell? Huh? It would have been one thing if Jose Alvarado got traded for that, period, not factoring in where he got sent to. Because I still would have been mad, like, oh, really? That's all that it would have taken? Like, I actually think the Pistons I think they really could have used him. Unless they get, like, Mike Conley in the buyout market. That would rock, honestly. But I was like, oh, okay, that's a guy who would be a really good Piston. Otherwise, yes, he can shoot, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, he can shoot. But it does turn the dial up on my oh shitometer, Like I'm Randy Leahy, the shithawks, my shitometer. For the Knicks. I don't like it. Don't like that he's on the Knicks. I mean, it bodes really well for the playoffs, just in terms of getting a classic series. Who knows what's going to happen in there? Oh, man, it's going to get nasty. We go to MSG pretty soon, I think the Pistons do. I don't remember what date it is. It's at some point this month. But that playoff series, assuming that it happens, is going to be nasty. Not happy that they got Jose Alvarado. I could say the same thing about on my shitometer with the Celtics getting Vooch. I don't know. We'll have to see. Vucevic, once every presidential term, will shoot well. And it will carry him through the next 3 years until he shoots well again. And in the middle of those 3 years, he won't actually be that good of a shooter. He will chuck the hell out of the ball. But people will still, because they're not watching the Bulls. You know what I mean? They're not watching the Bulls. Hell, they were hardly watching the Magic. You know what I mean? And so they were like, oh, yeah, he can kind of play. And then, like, when he plays your team, that is actually the night that he does shoot really well, But all the other nights, he stinks. Well, we're kind of in that, once every presidential cycle that Vucevic he's doing it again, He's shooting the ball well. Actually, for real this time, he's shooting the ball well. And now he's on the Celtics. Yeah, it was a tax move for the Celtics. I couldn't make heads or tails on if that means Jason Tatum is coming back or not. Because the most recent update is like, I don't know, maybe he won't. I don't know. It'd be crazy if he didn't. The way that they've been ramping this up, like he obviously definitely is. It was just a very strange, like they kind of just like, they like pulled the leash back on us, and you know what I mean? Like our necks kind of snapped back. Like, I don't know, maybe he's not. Oh, maybe he's not. Well, I think the assumption going into the deadline was if the Celtics are trading Simons, then it depends on what they get in return. Because if it's like a dump or just like picks or something, like, okay, that signals, let's be a little worse. Tatum's not coming back. What the hell does it mean when they get Vucevic? I think we'll find out. It'd be very strange if, they're in the 2 seed in the beginning of February and then and they're 5.5 games back of first place. And I think they actually might be tied with the Knicks right now. And that's when they're like, oh, we're 20 games over 500. Like, we need to start being bad now. I don't believe that's true. They're not going to start being bad. Like, no matter what, they're going to make the play. Like, there's no way. So what the hell does this mean? I think the Celtics are going to try to be good. Damn it. I think Tatum's going to come back. Shoot. I was only originally worried about the Celtics. And then suddenly I wasn't worried about the Celtics. Because it was like, I don't know, maybe Tatum won't come back. He is now, so they're back. The Knicks, I've fluctuated, and we murdered them. I think who was on the second night of a back-to-back? I think it was us, actually. What was this, like 3 weeks ago, the Pistons played the Knicks? I think it was on the second night of a back-to-back. Jalen Duren wasn't playing either. And the Pistons won by 100. And I was like, these little kids, this is who we have to play in the playoffs? Huh. Well, now I'm back to, I'm a little bit like, okay. Jose Alvarado. I'm scared of him. And I'm disappointed in the Pelicans for doing that business. Oh, that's Troy Weaver. That was Troy Weaver that did that. Troy Weaver just handed the Knicks Jose Alvarado on a silver platter. Oh, my God. And Joe Dumars. Whoa. DOJ. I'm on my hands and knees. I am begging, I am pleading the United States Department of Justice to investigate Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver, potentially Adam Silver. We don't know how deep this goes. We don't know. Maybe the American intelligence apparatus is involved in this. Maybe this is the deep state. I don't know what this is. But I do know that Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver are colluding against the Detroit Pistons and are using the New York Knicks as a proxy to destroy them and to undermine their championship efforts this season. This is an injustice. The American judicial system, the judicial branch, needs to drop what it's doing. Whatever else is going on in the world right now, in the courts, and whatever files are being read, I need the. What are we calling these? What's the gate? Alvarado gate. I don't know what it is. But something stinks. Something stinks here like poop. Let's check out some more emails, folks. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Right. I said Cam Thomas. Let's do this too real quick. A couple minutes after the trade deadline passes, a lot of very mean-spirited emails got sent in to the Coping Hour. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? So Cam Thomas got waived by the Nets. Record scratch, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how Cam Thomas got here. He was scoring 25 points a game a year ago. And then 6 months after that, he was like, I am a $30 million man, and I will not report to camp. I'm on strike from playing basketball until I get my $30 million. And then he accepted a qualifying offer, which was worth, I don't remember what that was worth. It was damn sure wasn't $30 million, though, right? So what were the mean-spirited emails about? Well, around the time that this labor dispute was happening between Cam Thomas and the Brooklyn Nets, Cam Thomas was also firing off a bunch of tweets at like Zach Lowe. He was just like getting mad at Zach Lowe on the internet because Zach Lowe was like, "Hey, Cam Thomas like chucking the ball," and that was like kind of it. And then we spent 3 episodes, I think, 2 or 3 episodes, going back and forth with a guy who thought Zach Lowe was pussy, and he said that Cam Thomas was a top 10 scorer in the NBA, and that like I could debate a fucking wall. And I don't remember exactly who I named, but when he said that, he was like, you can't name 10 scorers in the NBA better than Cam Thomas. And I was like, I bet I can. I think we may have rattled off like 20 guys, like just off the cuff. And what's funny about that list is I didn't even mention like Cade or Shea. Like I just named, and I like Cam Thomas, but it was crazy. So that guy, we got a lot of mean emails about him today. And I'm not going to read any of them. But I just want everybody to know who thought about him or otherwise even sent in an email about him. I also immediately thought of this guy. Cam Thomas waived, and I was like, that guy's having the worst fucking day of his life. But then it's like, now by the time you're listening to this, he may be signed somewhere. I'm just like, it's about 8:00 on Thursday night. I don't know where he is. I don't know where he's going to go. So let me just throw some darts. Let me see if I can predict it. I'm really not sure. Like, is that the Golden State Band-Aid? You know what I mean? Do they not care? Because really what you're factoring in here, and what I will say about every single team that we mention here, is like, can you afford to just have like an RPG, like a grenade of a guy in your locker room? Can you afford to, can you? Okay. Do you not care? Or are you so desperate that you don't care? Milwaukee. You know what I mean? Like, is it that bad? Golden State. Okay, sure. Who cares? If it's just like, Milwaukee, that's a big time John Horst thing to do these days, the last 5 years. Yeah. As like a, please, Giannis, please. You know what I mean? Hey, the deadline's over. Where's he going to go? But, okay, Golden State, maybe. I guess. You know, the Kuminga thing is done. Okay, great. Love it. Milwaukee, yeah, I suppose it could be. I'm not convinced it's not going to be Orlando. Because if I'm Orlando, I was getting kind of confused because I was like, why aren't they like going and like getting somebody? I don't think it's great that Anthony Black has been their best player for like most of the season. That feels wrong. I don't think that's supposed to be that way. And most of the season, is that true? Well, no, maybe not most of the season, but definitely more games than he should be the best player on the floor for them, for sure. What's going on with Wagner? How many games is he missing, and what's going on with him? But then I remembered, I was like, oh right, they gave up everything for Desmond Bane, right? Yes, that's right, they did do that. So they're at a point this season. Are they a game under 500 right now? They're hovering. They're in an infinitely worse spot than I think a lot of us thought. Like 10 games at least worse than we thought they were going to be this year. And it hasn't really looked that pretty, and especially with Paulo, it's just been really stinky this year. And so are you also just kind of desperate to just get a guy who can score the ball? And that's what Cam Thomas does, that you don't care about what may come with it if he has to come off the bench and be a sixth man. I think if you want, like, does he seem like a Pat Riley guy? Does Cam Thomas seem like a Pat Riley guy? I'm going to feel really dumb if, like, by the time this comes out, he does sign somewhere. Like, I'm going to feel dumb if I spend too much time talking about any of this, so maybe I should just move on. Miami, we'll just end it there. What about Miami? You know, if it does Pat Riley want to, you know, whip him into shape, smack him around a little bit? That's a fun personality to be in Miami, honestly. I like that for Heat culture. Yeah, even though that's not real anymore. It's dead, thank God. Cam Thomas in Miami. Yeah, I suppose it could be. Another trade that happened, Jaren Jackson Jr. You seen this? You heard about this? Jaren Jackson Jr. That's right. I was going to pull this email up earlier, and then I remembered about the Cam Thomas thing. So one of you guys had left a comment on a community post that I had made like 3 weeks ago. I had said, I was like, keep an eye on the Wizards. I was like, oh, Digital Paul Revere here. You know, keep an eye on those Wizards. They could make a weird trade happen. Like, I think they might go get Jaren Jackson. The Wizards are coming. You know. It ended up being Anthony Davis. Fucking close enough, whatever. Well, one of you guys had commented on that original post, and you said, can we please keep an eye on the Jazz for once? Is this you that because your name on YouTube is not this, your name isn't actually displayed on there the way that it is here. So I'm assuming this is the same guy. I hope I'm veering credit to the correct either. A guy 3 weeks ago was like, hey, what about the Jazz for Jaren Jackson Jr.? I'm assuming this is you, brother. Subject line, Digital Doctor Strange. Jackson, welcome back to the show. Hey, Nick, everyone knows you are widely regarded as the Digital Paul Revere, even though Devin Booker is... Shut the fuck up. Come on, bro. I'm trying to give you... Even though Devin Booker's still on the Suns. Shut up. Maybe Max Crosby will be a Lion. It's not something that Brad Holmes is going to do. But Max Crosby coming to the Lions would be the NFL, like the direct NFL equivalent of Devin Booker coming to the Pistons. It's literally the exact same thing. Desperately want that to happen, but it's not going to. Let's give you your credit here, Jackson. But today I am basking in the glory of being the Digital Doctor Strange. I've seen the 14 million timelines. Jaren Jackson Jr. is on the Jazz at about half of them. The other half is the Rapture, and the Earth gets glassed over. Walton Clayton Jr. goes on to have a beautiful career in Memphis in this timeline before he gets traded to the Clippers, where their post-Kawhi rebuild picks up steam. Taylor Hendricks will be a cornerstone in Memphis, paired next to Edey. The defensive duo will bring back the grindhouse era of Memphis basketball in 2028. His mom will still defend his honor at Vegas Summer League games. In parentheses, he said deep pull coping hour email submission from 2 years ago. His mom will his mom will still defend his honor at the Vegas Summer League game. Oh my God, you're right. Whoa. Okay, so yeah, the email. Wow, I forgot about that. Good for you. So what was it? A guy emailed into the show and he was sitting around Taylor Hendricks' mom? And was it him that was saying stuff about Taylor Hendricks and then like his mom overheard it and was like, shut the fuck up? Or was it just somebody else that was around and the guy just was there and he overheard it? So he said, Taylor Hendricks will be a cornerstone in Memphis, paired next to Edey. The defensive duo will bring back the grindhouse era of Memphis. His mom will still defend. Wait, was it Edey's mom? No, I think it was Taylor Hendricks. Yeah, if somebody remembers exactly. Damn, what a pull from you. I didn't even remember that. Wow, clearly I don't, but I remember enough of it. What a, oh my God. Wow. That's cool that you remember that I don't, wow. That's, thanks for remembering that. That felt cool. Thanks. It wasn't even my story, but it's something that I produced and that I would have read, and that a story you otherwise would, a meme that you otherwise would not have in your head if it wasn't for this show. So that's what it's for, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to it. As for the Jazz, the West withers out due to the CBA and second apron. They will have 5 championships by the year 2036. Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg will be the next Magic Bird. LeBron owns a EuroLeague team, but they are a disaster. Nice good little one in there. I like that one at the end. He'll own Vegas. I mean, whenever. Well, no, I forgot they abandoned Vegas. Yeah, so LeBron doesn't get to own a team now? You're right. Oh my God, he is just going to pivot to fucking Barcelona or something, is he? Or he's going to, I guess maybe he'll, no, he has a Premier League team. Is it, because KD's invested in Arsenal, I think? Or is it Chelsea? No, what is it? Is it, I don't, is KD Tottenham? I don't remember. Oh man, I don't remember. But they're all invested in, like Brady has Birmingham. Man, that's a great one. You're right. Because Vegas is dead, now LeBron might just pivot to Europe. And then one of these, like we covered this a couple episodes ago. This is actually what they're doing. the NBA is approaching like the soccer clubs, Arsenal and all the London teams, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham, and then also in Manchester, they want United and they want City to to create franchises for this league. And so I'm sorry, I just don't remember off the top of my head like which players are like LeBron. I swear is in on one of them, or is KD on PSG? Is it LeBron? I think KD might be in on PSG. Is what it is. So that's a great take from you. Man, that's a good take. Okay, let's do the Jazz thing with Jaren Jackson. Well, great business from the Grizzlies, honestly. I mean, Bane was 4 firsts? I don't know if one of, what swaps and all that, but there was like 4 first-round picks. And then from this Jaren Jackson deal, it was 3? You got 7 first-round picks in 8 months. That's in the span of 8 months. That's amazing business. I don't care. That's amazing. And then, Ja was kind of also lumped into the Giannis thing just to a lesser extent, just in terms of like we kept being force fed that like he's definitely going to get moved. And it was like, obviously he's not. After that Trae Young trade, it was like, obviously he's not. There's no way. Oh, Milwaukee, was making phone calls. I mean, maybe they were, but, there's just no way. So once they traded Jaren, it was like, there was another reaction of like, oh, Ja's next. It's like, no, I was sending text to Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, about this. Immediately after the Jaren trade, I was like, did they just solidify that they're hoping that Ja can like good stats, bad team his way to like better value by the time the draft comes around? You know what I mean? Or that just like next summer comes around? Is that what this is? That they're hoping that for the next, 40 or not 40 games, but like, 30 games that Ja, I don't know, figures out how to shoot the ball. Maybe he grows like 4 inches. I don't know. Is that what this is? It's not a bad strategy. Honestly, you lose nothing because if Trae Young went for 2 expiring contracts, it's unknowable with Ja. I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, clearly people weren't biting because Memphis's asking price ended up being too high in the first place. But otherwise, if you're Memphis, like, hey, it stinks that you lose Jaren. What he meant to those fans, but Spartan Dog in Utah. Yeah, Danny Ainge is just like, what if we just had all the 7-footers? What if our whole starting lineup was 7-footers and we're like 60% of the way there? No Walker Kessler. Indiana apparently tried to go after him. A good business by Utah to not move him. I mean, he's done for the year, but can I give you my sickest, nastiest, most disgusting take about the Jazz at the deadline? If I was Danny Ainge, I would have put in the NBA general manager Slack channel and done like in the invisible ink effect and said, what do you guys think about Keontae George? Side-eye emoji. Because, and it would have been a damn king's ransom to get him off, to pry him from my team. But first of all, that's Danny Ainge's business. That's what he does. He didn't do it here. But his history is, I'm not making a trade unless you get fleeced. So if I'm Danny Ainge at this deadline, I don't think it's crazy to think that he did this, by the way. This is substantiated by nothing other than the history of him as a general manager. So why am I even saying this? You're like, Nick, Keontae George is playing out of his fucking mind this season. Yeah, exactly. Look at what he's shooting this year. He's shooting like 50% from the field. He's never going to do this again, ever. 2 things can be true. He is a real special player. He's really good. He just gets better and better every single year. He's really, really good. While also like, sometimes people just have like the anomaly year. And it's not like, I don't know, it's not like Utah was going to win the championship this year, whether or not Keontae George is on the team. So if in the process of me, spending a lot of resources to get Jaren Jackson, now, you need a guard. You need somebody who can handle the ball when you're going to have as many 7-footers as. But I don't know. What could it have gotten you? I would be curious to know if I had to even try. Because you would only be trading him if you got an upgrade at guard. I really can't even think. Like, it's not obvious. No, Cade, no. Halliburton, no. Garland. Woo. Well, but that wouldn't have been a good deal. I would have had to have gotten Garland, and then like you're not. It's not like you're getting Garland. Well, actually, if Ainge had anything to say about this, He would have said, fuck Darius Garland, give me Evan Mobley. Give me Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and then give me somebody who can handle the ball, and then we'll just figure it out. I don't know. Now, I don't think I would have done that. Well, actually, I guess in this hypothetical, I'm the one who just said Danny Ainge would have. So I guess Danny Ainge would have done that. I don't know. I'm not saying I would have actually made a trade for Keontae George, but if there was ever, it's just rare that you're able to identify the exact moment that you can sell high on somebody. There's no way he's going to be this guy for the rest of his career. He's way too good this year. Seriously, there's no way. So it is something that I would have made phone calls about. If that leaks, that's going to be a problem. Because then you're just, not only are you guaranteeing that he comes back down to earth, not necessarily regresses, but what would otherwise be coming back down to earth, you just expedite that process to maybe he just regresses because you just absolutely murder his confidence. Because for a guy who otherwise has all the runway in the world, him and Ace Bailey, to just kind of go out there and fucking rock, it's really nice that he has that. I said Ace Bailey, and then my brain just went, I fucking love him, dude. I love watching Ace Bailey play. And on draft night, when there was a whole thing about like his character and like, I mean, he did definitely kind of play his cards pretty bizarrely leading up to the draft. But I don't know. We a couple years ago, we always, would sort of reference, we would put players into two categories, like hooper or basketball player. I don't really want to get back into that whole can of worms again. But there is a special place in this world for hoopers. I prefer the basketball players. That's why I like Cade. That's why I like Shea's a good hybrid, but the world does need guys like Ace Bailey. And for a dude, I don't know, it was at the beginning of the season. I don't remember how many games it lasted, but there was a stretch. Maybe it was only the first 10 games of the season, and I was just overreacting to it so hard because I was just getting so mad that they weren't letting him shoot the ball. And I'm like, he's not going to be effective on the floor at all if he's not able to shoot the ball. That's like his whole gimmick, right? You just got to let him shoot and heat up. So here's like my philosophy. If I'm Will Hardy, here's what my philosophy would be with Ace Bailey is you give him 10 shots every night, no matter what. That's the floor. You will get 10 shots, Ace Bailey. Now, if after those 10 shots, you're like 4 for 10, you get 5 more. And then after that, if you get, 3 of them, 4 of them, you get 5 more. You give Ace Bailey his shots in increments of 5, I think. And you incentivize him. It's an incentive-based program to give Ace Bailey more shots. Now, is that just, kind of just normally how this shit works? I guess, yes. Indirectly, yes. Exactly. But I'm framing it in a much kinder way with sunshine and like sad clouds. You know what I mean? Stars and like sad clouds and shit like that. Like demerits and shit like that. That's what this is for Ace Bailey. Put it up in his locker. You know what I mean? The better you shoot, and you write it like it's a damn eat more chicken, like Chick-fil-A commercial. Ace Bailey, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a dumb guy. The better you shoot with a U and the E's are backwards and the T is upside down, equal more shot. I like this Ace Bailey guy, man. I like him a lot. And it wasn't a Keontae George. He had like 30 shots. It was I don't know, like 2 weeks ago. Was it Minnesota? I think that they were playing. He had like 46 in that game or something. I'm telling you, he's never going to shoot as well as he's shooting this season. And I'm not saying that's a reason, again, that you should have traded him, but I don't know. Like, what would that have looked like? What could you have gotten? Would you have traded? But again, the context of like, you have all of the 7-footers in the NBA on your team. Like, you don't need Bam Adebayo. But who is it? If you're I spent all this time talking about Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. He's right there. If you were the Cavs, whoa. What would it have? Well, wait a minute. What do you think? You're fucking so dumb. You were going to send Donovan Mitchell back to Utah? I don't know, man. That would have been nasty. I need to keep saying this out loud because I don't know if this is crazy. I think what it is saying is that how highly I have rated Keontae George this year. I think he's been amazing. That I would have. Who says no? If in the GM Slack channel, it's floated out there. Keontae George, Donovan Mitchell. Now, Donovan Mitchell makes $50 million a year. I don't know how you make this work. Also, they were in the second apron. They were the only team in the NBA in the second apron, so they couldn't aggregate multiple. That's why they had to do Garland for Harden straight up. And there's no way that Utah would have had enough to. If it was no, man, you couldn't have made it. There's nothing you could have done to make that work. Who gives up? You're going to think I'm crazy for asking this, but I have to ask this out loud. Who gives up the picks there? And it's not crazy to ask that, because if you're Cleveland, let's say Utah had the space and they could take on that behemoth contract. Right? Maybe they, I don't know, but there's just no way that they did. Well, they could have, I guess. They're paying Laurie and that's interesting. Just make the goddamn point, Nick. Okay, well, if you're Cleveland, the solid that Utah is doing there is that you're shedding, what's the difference in contract? Like $30 million, $35 million difference? So that gets you out of the second apron. Does that get you out of the first apron? And you're also in return getting a guard who is shooting the best that he has ever shot in his life. And is otherwise, on the team in Utah playing with guys who are just as big as Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. He knows how to direct this traffic. And if you're Danny Ainge, then you would have gotten Donovan Mitchell back. And I'm going to stick to my guns on this. Why doesn't this work? Other than the restrictions of, financially or whatever, otherwise, that it wouldn't work. Would I have done that? Oh my God. I didn't answer my own question, is who gives up the picks there? So I think Cleveland, because it's salary relief to the max. It's crazy, by the way. And I need to just emphasize this. It's insane. I think this is where I'm saying, okay. Yeah, it's happening. I think a lot. I'm excited about Keontae George. I think a little too much here. But I don't but no, because that's how good he's been, man. Stick to it. I really like this take from me. I think this is good. If I was Danny Ainge, I would have called. Kobe Altman. And but then if you're but no, because if you're Danny Ainge and you trade for that Donovan Mitchell contract, you're handicapping extending guys like Walker Kessler in the first place. And when all these they got too many young guys that it wouldn't work. You can't do that. And then with Laurie too, you can't. Well, wait. What? No, I was gonna say, what if you did Laurie for Donovan Mitchell? That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I should have gotten out of the kitchen. I just burned all the takes. Damn it. Alrighty, folks. How many? What other trades did we have? Well, I'd say we covered all the bases there. Alrighty, folks. Spotify. What do I got for you guys? Spotify. Well, let's do the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. Let's get out of here. Let's wrap up on the Super Bowl. Let's do this, Spotify. I guess I don't really know if I have a question. Here's what I can tell you. So the next time you hear from me, the Super Bowl will have wrapped up. Seahawks and the Patriots. Go Birds. This Sam Darnold story, I'll be honest with you, it really is, it's an amazing one. But I just think he's such a goofball that I don't know how to say this in a way that just isn't rude. So I'm excited for him. I'm rooting for him. I think this is a really cool story, and I'm really rooting for him. But I gotta warn you guys. There's a chance that the episode might not come out until Monday night or Tuesday morning, because longtime listeners of the show may remember that there are 2 nights out of the year where I am allowed to, quote unquote, break the record, as I always refer to it as to the mother of my child, the beautiful and eloquent Madison Rose. And what break the record means is I get to drink as many beers as I want, and she doesn't get to say anything about it. I get to do that twice a year. What are those 2 occasions? The Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is one. I get to do whatever I want. And then the other night is the Oscars, which is also, so it's basically 2 times in like the first fiscal quarter. That's not how that works. In the first, part of the year, I get 2 opportunities to do it. Just absolutely go nuts, which I will be doing on Sunday. So depending on if I do hashtag break the record and drink so many beers that I cannot possibly do the show, I'm just letting you know that if it's not up, that's why. If the show is up, I'm also letting you know what to expect because it's my I get to go crazy. Now, normally during the Super Bowl, I just get a little 12-pack. Just get a nice little 12-pack. I told Maddie this year, I'm going 24. I'm not going to get even close to 24, but I don't know, just because, I don't know. It's the Super Bowl. Why not? Let's go crazy. Go Birds. Go Birds. One prediction. I think Cooper Kupp's going to do something weird in this game, like throw a pass. I think it's going to be like was it Hines Ward or Antoine Randall in the actually against the Seahawks, funny enough, in Ford Field in what was that, 05 or 06? 05, I think. It was the 05 season, and it was in 2006, I think. I think it was Antoine Randall was the one who was I think it was him to Hines Ward, or was it Hines Ward that was the quarterback in college? I think it was Antoine Randall. I'm going to say final answer, Antoine Randall threw that pass. Like on some like hashtag that shit. I think Cooper Kupp's going to do something weird like that in this game. Do I think there's going to be defensive touchdown? I guess from these two defenses, honestly, it could. There really could be. It's going to be so funny when everybody's expecting Carlton Davis to have like a back-breaking 50-yard like defensive pass interference that just like ruins the game, that ruins the Super Bowl for the Patriots. Everybody's expecting Carlton Davis to be wearing a dunce cap by the end of this game. It's going to be so damn funny if he has like a Malcolm Butler interception at the end of this game. Everybody's expecting it to be Christian Gonzalez, and it ends up being fucking Carlton Davis. It's going to be really funny. Reek Woolen, great guy, great man. Kenneth Walker, Super Bowl MVP, could be. Seems like a really it seems like a Super Bowl that is destined to have a receiver be the MVP. And basically what I mean by that is JSN or Cooper Kupp. Cuz oh my god, Mac Hollins Super Bowl MVP, could you imagine? Oh my god. That would be cool. Like that would actually rock, to be honest. But like if it was Stephon Diggs, oh my god. It'd be funny. It'd be a good bit. It would be a good bit by the NFL to give Stephon Diggs. Just give it to him, even if they lose the game. If they lose the game on some 44-8, Seattle beating the Broncos shit, just give it to Stephon Diggs. Just to see, I don't know, just to see how the America reacts. I don't know. Actually, that would be how people always shit will happen in the world, like, and people are like, this is a distraction, like, if they want you talking about this because something else is going on that you don't know about. Imagine they like stealth drop like videos from the uncensored videos from the Epstein files, and there needs to be a mass distraction. I think giving Stephon Diggs Super Bowl MVP, no matter what happens, he breaks his neck on the first play of the game, well, then it's a participation trophy. But that's still culture will still sink its teeth into that. Culture would spend we would spend 3 days talking about that. That would bury something for sure. Keep an eye on Stephon Diggs winning the Super Bowl MVP. I'm not so sure that some funny business isn't going to happen here. Spotify, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl MVP? Who do you think is going to win Super Bowl MVP? I don't think it's going to be one of the quarterbacks. I don't think so. Now, the history would tell you that it will be. I don't know. I just think I really think JSN has it. I think this is his to lose. What a special guy. Alrighty, folks, Apple Podcasts. What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.